Hey everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Imperial Pulls. Guess who's back? Oh, you have to move closer to me.
Yeah, I know.
It's
I
mirrored.
don't want to.
It's a video. Hi everybody. It's Brian from Imperial Pulls.
And Joe from Imperial Pulls.
And you might notice our background looks a little bit different today. We have our beautiful Charizard and Pikachu banners in the back there. That's because we're not in the attic or the office.
Nope. Where are we?
We are at, are you ready for this?
Yes.
North of Exile Games in Midland, Ontario, which is a local game store in Midland, Ontario. And we're here for a special reason. I mean, we're here often ananyway.
Often.
But
The
today,
ice cream is a special reason.
right. Sometimes we're here for just no good reason because they can't kick us out because we keep coming back. But we're here today because we have a special guest.
We do.
Actually, I guess we're the special guests.
You're the special guest. I've been doing this 2 weeks without you.
Yeah, sure.
Well, welcome everybody to Brian.
Hey! We have special guest today. He is the owner of North of Exile Games, local game store. Has been for 5 years now? 6 years now. I guess that we've crossed the anniversary.
Yeah.
For 6 years, he's been the owner of North of Exile Games. And is now, if you're watching this, you probably know, he is the president of Edge of Exile Entertainment, makers of quality TCGs like Genesis, Battle of Champions. Everybody welcome Jason Malott.
Woo! There we
now
are.
you're on. Now you're on camera.
Hey.
There we go.
Hey everybody,
Thanks for having us here.
thanks for having me here in my store, but on your video, which kind of makes me a guest and a host at the same time. I'm not sure which that is, but
That's
Yeah,
true.
it is true.
Yeah.
Everything's upside down.
And after
Yeah.
hours. So
And it's after hours.
you could have left an hour ago, so we appreciate
that's
the fact
the
that you're
keeping
North
sticking
of
around.
Exile After Dark.
That's
Yes.
right. It's getting darker.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, thank you for being with us. We just want to start off by, first of all, saying thanks for having us. And before we get to the Genesis stuff, this is a lovely store.
Thank you.
Full disclosure, I have worked with Jason here at the store for a while.
Yes.
But it's terrific. It's like a great place to be and to work, and people come here all the time. And I think like a lot of LGSs, you work hard to create a really welcoming environment here.
I do try hard. Yeah.
And what are some of the things, just to start us off here? Well, first of all, why don't you explain what North of Exile is for people that maybe have never been here before?
Sure. So North of Exile Games, we're kind of a little bit unique compared to other game stores out there. Because one, we're a game store that you can come in and buy all sorts of popular board games and card games. And I mean fantastic games. But on top of that, we're also a board game cafe. So we have over 80, close to 90 games now that you can play in the store. So you can just drop in with friends. And unlike most board game cafes, we don't want to charge table fees because we really want people to always get value for their money. So we don't charge any table fees to play the games. Instead, we just ask that everyone who's going to play board games or card games buy some drinks or snacks. And then we offer complimentary use of all of our library games. And the drinks and snacks are pretty fun because we have soft serve ice cream.
I was going to say, you just kind of glossed over drinks and snacks.
Yeah.
That's no small thing.
Yeah.
I'm just right now finishing a cup of, what did I have here? I had blue goo ice cream, banana ice cream, maple ice cream, and strawberry. So you can fit up to 5 different flavors of ice cream on a cone, and then if you want, you can dip it in another flavor as well. So you have like really cool premium ice cream treats and donuts,
Yeah.
and then coffees, cappuccinos, lattes. And probably the thing everybody loves the most actually is we're one of the only stores, for all I know, maybe the only store in Ontario that has Jones Soda on tap. So
Yeah.
you can
Did
get
you hear that? Jones Soda, you know the best soda?
Yeah.
They have it in fountain.
Yes, you can get blue berry lemonade pop and green apple, and then traditional ones like Jones Soda root beer is really
The root beer is fantastic.
And
I live off the cola.
yeah, I'm surprised you didn't say ginger ale. I thought you were going to say that because Jones Soda
Oh.
ginger ale is fantastic.
It's great, but I have a slow drip of Jones Cola
Yeah.
all the time. Like it's just always in my veins. Well, that's terrific. And
Yeah.
so you have people coming here not just for the games, but so some people come just for the games.
Yeah.
Some people come just for the snacks.
That's right. A lot of times, we actually have quite a few customers who'll come in just for things like, I have this handy thing here, our cinnamon donuts that you can
Yes.
get. Cinnamon sugar donuts, fresh out of the oven. We also have the same really addictive queso cheese that you can get at the movie theaters when you order a tray of nachos.
Theater nachos.
Yeah, theater nachos are and they're only like $5, so people come in all the time just to get an order of nachos or an order of donuts. So it's really fun, you know. We have like really fun snacks and treats that we tried to elevate to go a little bit fancier and nicer than most common game stores that maybe only have chocolate bars and cans of pop. So we wanted to create a better experience, and then we have all the board games, and we're also really well known for our tournaments. In fact, just today, a couple hours ago, we just hosted our first ever competitive Pokemon card game tournament. And when I say competitive, it was a Challenge Cup event, or a League Challenge event, which means the players here today, the top performers, earned points that can eventually, if they get enough of them in a year, qualify them for an invitation to Japan to compete in the World Championship.
Wow.
So we're just starting to dip our toes into competitive Pokemon. We do really great with, we do trivia on Wednesday nights, poker on Thursday nights, board game social nights on Fridays, which Joe here comes out and plays almost every single week.
I'm a fan of the trivia.
Yep.
I love trivia, and it's always really fun. You get a bunch of friends together, like a team.
Yeah.
You pick a name, and away
Well,
you
just
go.
last week, you guys actually won. You came first place.
Well, I didn't want to brag.
Well, I got to give credit where credit's due. You guys came out and won and got a board game to keep. And,
Yeah, totally did.
and then, of course, the other night that's a real highlight of the week for me is every Saturday night we play Genesis Battle of Champions.
Genesis, as they
Genesis.
say on the continent.
Right. Which we're doing phenomenal with Genesis here. It's great.
It's really growing. Joe and I come to participate a lot, and it's growing. Like, and the people who, if someone comes out to try it, they usually come back.
Yeah.
It's really
In fact,
fun.
one recent addition to our regular play group is a guy named Chris who comes all the way from Aurelia. And for anyone who's not local watching this right now, Aurelia is a good 45 to 50 minute drive. And he's been coming every Saturday he can. In fact, I think he's secretly hoping his D&D nights get canceled because he said at first he could only come every other week for because he plays D&D on Saturdays as well. And then he's had 2 or 3 D&D nights get canceled last second. He's been coming every week. So, yeah, Genesis...
You know, maybe some of those guys got to roll some ones. You know what I
Right?
mean?
Yeah. So, it's been great. Like you were just saying, the trick is just to get people to try the game.
Yeah.
And I think it's got to be like either 99 or 100% success rate. I don't actually honestly remember ever teaching someone the game who didn't love it and come back and play it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Even the other day I was here for nachos maybe.
Yeah.
And somebody came in and we kind of taught them how to play.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right, because you helped coach him.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, which brings me a little bit back to when you're talking about the board games. People can come and play the games that you have.
Yeah.
Do you teach them how to play, or are there assets that will show them how to play if it's a game that they've never played before?
Well, and that kind of just depends on how busy I am at the time. If I have free time and I'm not running off my feet helping other customers, I'm happy to sit down and guide people through the first few turns. But Brian, Employee of the Year there, takes you to a handy list of like how to play explanation videos for every board game we have in stock. Well, almost every. We've actually added like 3 new board games just this month that we haven't
I'm
got.
not quite on the list yet, but they'll be on soon.
But yeah, so it's great. It's really easy for people to come in and just either get a first-person introduction to games, or they can load up a video. And honestly, I mean, my big thing I just want people to know is everybody underestimates how fun board games are these days. Board games have come light years from where they were when I was a kid growing up.
Absolutely. And there's something for everyone, too. It's not just Monopoly anymore.
No.
There's, if you like casual games, if you like, complicated strategy games, if you like puzzle games, like there's... It's insane, the amount of things that people have.
And Joe can testify that one of the games we played the most this year has been this race car game called Heat. And Heat is amazing. I don't remember. Have you played it yet, Brian?
I've watched you guys play it, but I haven't had the chance to get into it yet. So.
And it's a race car themed board game, and they were so smart with how they designed it, because whatever gear your race car's in, that's how many cards you're allowed to play from your hand, and each card can help you move more spaces around the racetrack. But sometimes you forget to gear down because you're like trying to get into the lead and you're going super fast, and all of a sudden you're at a corner and you're in 4th gear and you meant to be in 1st or 2nd gear, and then all of a sudden you're spinning out and hitting the wall. I think that actually happened to you just this week.
It did happen to me this week.
Yeah. So it's so well thought out because it adds the flavor of the topic into the game. Board games have come miles and miles from where they used to be. So I love that because we have had a really great experience here at this store introducing so many people to board games who had a very low opinion of them, And if you find the right game for them, it like changes their whole
Absolutely.
worldview on board games.
Well, most of the Friday night board games that we've played since I've started coming out have been games I would never have played.
yeah, because when you describe them, they sound like they'll be horrible, but it
Yeah.
turns out they're amazingly
Hey, do you want to do 16th century farming?
Yeah, Agricola.
Nope.
All about 16th century farming.
Yeah.
But when
It's
you sit
great.
down and you play it,
Yeah.
you love it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you wouldn't believe how good these games are.
Yeah, it's terrific. And now you didn't used to be in this location.
No, originally, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
we used to be in Penetang, the next town over. Bigger location, more seating, but not quite as refined as this location is. Because like now in this one, we have the ice cream and the donuts and the nice bench-style booth seats to sit in.
That's
and all
right.
that.
So now we're here in Midland. If you don't know about Midland, it's a town in Ontario on the side of Georgian Bay. It's sort of what some people call cottage country.
Yep.
I don't call it that because people
It's
live,
home.
they live here.
Yeah.
People live here, but some
Yeah.
people call it that, and it's terrific. So people come here who are locals, but also like
We get a lot of tourists here.
a lot of tourists and cottagers come.
In
as
fact,
well.
there's some cruise ships that come here from like the United States and stuff
Yeah.
like that actually stop in Midland
Yeah.
specifically for
Regularly.
overnight visits.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so why the move? Why did you come to Midland?
There was a variety of reasons. One was the real estate market was at a good time for us to sell the building that we owned in Penetang because we owned the original building.
Yeah.
And we wanted to reinvest into the company. Another reason was we wanted to get to downtown Midland because Midland is it has a lot more foot traffic. So there's more people walking up and down the street and driving up and down the street here than there was in Penetang. We always had to really hustle hard to get people to. It was worth the drive to come visit us in Penetang. But here in Midland, even though it's only a 10-minute drive difference, there's so many more people physically living in Midland that it's less effort on we're worth the drive. It's more like you're already here. So
Yeah, exactly.
that was a
There's
lot of the reason.
downtown Penetang is great, but it's not as accessible as downtown Midland is in terms of
Right.
just getting here and being here.
That's right. Yeah.
I like it better because I live around the corner
Yeah.
and I can walk here now.
Yeah, it worked out really well for you, for sure.
Yeah.
I walked here in 6 minutes today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the best. So I want to go in the Wayback Machine a little bit
For sure.
to April of this
Yeah.
year. Early in April of this year, as you and I were sitting here in the store and we were talking about Genesis,
Yeah.
and we wanted to look up something about the Champions, I think it was.
Yeah.
And,
And we had just hosted a store championship
that's right.
Yeah.
for Genesis on the Saturday, and I think it was the Monday we were looking at the computer.
We were just discussing something about the Champions. I said, I'm going to look that up. And you went to your computer, and I'm just, for a moment, I'm going to say from my perspective, I was across the store, and I heard you say, no!
Yeah.
And I was like, what's going
That
on?
real Darth Vader moment there with the scream and the sadness. And
Yeah, so to explain what it was that made you exclaim that way.
Well, somebody, a good friend of mine who also loves Genesis, had sent me a message on Facebook. He's like, you better take a look at GenesisBattleOfChampions.com. I'm like, well, there's never anything good that comes from you better take a look at.
It's
Yeah.
very cryptic.
Yeah, right? So it's like, okay.
It's either something bad or it's a surprise birthday party.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't my birthday. So I went and I looked at the GenesisBattleChampions.com website, and there was a farewell message posted there that, out of the blue, and I didn't see it coming at all.
No.
But they announced that they were shutting down the company and the game was stopping. And like,
And
Brian,
we had
you
just been on this high of having the store championship.
yeah, we just had this great event on the weekend.
Yeah.
And Genesis was doing so well here. It was getting competitive with Pokemon for being the biggest draw in the store every week. And I was so passionate about it because the creator of the game, who owned the whole company and that, was somebody who I'd become friends with. So not only do you love the game and the product, but you're also rooting for this person you know, and you're like, yeah, this is amazing. Like someday I'm going to be friends with this guy who's this hugely successful game designer. I was already counting the money on like all the trips he was going to take me on. And
Right, yeah.
Be good friends. And then to see this out of the blue message that like the game was shutting down, like I was shocked, Brian. I remember I think I called you over right away, and I was like,
Yeah.
you got to come see
Well,
this.
it was like April 3rd or 4th,
Yeah.
and I thought it must be an April Fool's joke.
That's what I thought too. I thought it's been up for a couple days, and I just didn't see it.
Well, and that was so I only started playing in March
Yeah, the first thing
Like
Brian and I
early
said
March.
is, who's going to tell Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I got a text from him with the same kind of exclamation of no, and then the link, and I shared the feeling for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
We were all shocked.
For the rest of the
for
day,
sure.
the rest of the day, it felt to me.
Like a friend died?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It felt like when you find out bad news about a friend like being hurt or being killed, and it just because we were at such a high earlier in the day about the tournament went well and like everything's going great, and it was like boom.
Yeah.
It just took all that energy out of us.
And then it fell on me to tell, like, there were so many people that were passionate about that were coming to the store every week. And I had to, like, start texting people and be like, I've got terrible news. Yeah. And that hurt so bad. Because every time I sent someone a message about how they just announced the game shutting down, it was that all over. Everyone was like, no, oh my God. It was like...
And I had somebody in my life who I knew would love the game, and I kept trying to get him to come out to the store. And, for one reason or other, he couldn't come. Finally, I had convinced him to come that Saturday, or Wednesday, I guess it was still Wednesday.
Wednesdays, yep.
And then I had to tell him, like, you can still come and play, but just so you know, because we didn't really, everything was up in the air, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, those first few days, we all just assumed it was going to be gone forever.
Yeah. But we were still playing. We were like,
well,
we're going to play till we
love
stop.
The game, so, like, why stop playing?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the cards didn't expire magically. Like, it just...
So, to me, Jason, and probably to most players who love the game, we felt some grief and felt like, well, I guess the game's just done.
Right.
But you had a different reaction, and maybe you could explain what you did next.
Well, I was, I'm a bit of a, God, how do I say it? I'm a bit naive. I think things can always work out. So I was like, maybe there's a way to save this game. So I just, almost like in the first 2 or 3 days, right after it happened, there were a lot of people out there who started throwing out chatter on the internet and Discord and things like that, saying, maybe we can find a way to save this game. Maybe we can buy it or whatever, right? Or like, sorry, did I?
No, I did that. I booked it.
So all these people were doing all this chatting online, talking about maybe this group can buy it or that group, or maybe this company's going to come and buy it or whatever. And I thought to myself, because I'm naive, I thought, you know what, maybe I could find a way to save it, because I already have a business. Like I run a local game store, and I'm really passionate about it, and the game's been doing really good for us here. And I thought, well, maybe I can look into it. So I right away I started doing the things that I did back when I opened this game store years previously. I started working on a business plan. I started working on figuring out how much money I would need to accomplish everything, like what would I need to secure to be able to get started and get rolling for a year or two. And I did all the lists of like all the things you'd have to pay for and buy, and I started just working on paper. And I worked on paper for like 3 weeks on business plans and that. And then around the 3-week mark, I started reaching out to financing companies, like banks really. I reached out to one bank. I'll be fully honest, I got turned down hard by the first bank I reached to. And that stung, because it was the bank I've dealt with since I was 14 years old.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess if you don't know about TCGs, it sounds like, cotton candy and unicorns, right? Like,
right. Like, what is this crazy thing?
I mean, we know that it's big business, but not everybody does, I guess.
Yeah, the thing for me that didn't work in my favor is the branch of bank that I deal with. At that point, it was still in Penetang, the smaller town. And in that town, in that branch, they don't have somebody who deals with commercial loans for businesses. They just shop you off to like a phone service out in like the Atlantic provinces. So I was talking to somebody over the phone who didn't know me at all, knew you're not seeing them face to face. And I sent them an email with my business plan and all this, and the paragraphs talking about like TCG market is huge. One company alone, Wizards of the Coast that makes Magic, they made over $1 billion last year at that time, right? Because we were talking 2022, and I'm trying to explain to the guy that like this is a huge thing, and I'm trying to save this game that's doing really well and it's hit all these milestones, and he just at one point the guy from the bank that will remain nameless, it's a red logo though, that guy from that bank was so condescending. He's like, wow, it sounds like you're really knowledgeable and passionate about this. But he said it in a condescending tone of voice.
Patronizing.
And as soon as he said that, I was like, I'm not getting any money from this bank. And sure enough, 3 days later, he's like, yeah, we're no. Just hard no. And I was pretty motivated. Because I love this game and I'm passionate about it. I didn't want to give up. So I'm like, you know what? Just because I had one fool who wouldn't listen and didn't take me serious.
Right.
I'm not going to give up.
This is the second act of the movie of Genesis,
right?
Where you're being turned down a lot, and then
yeah.
It's a montage of you just being
right.
Someone
walking with my briefcase, walking out with a sad face,
somebody punches a hole in your hat and turns your umbrella inside out. And,
yeah. That was that chapter, and it was very demoralizing because you figure your best chance is to be the bank you've dealt with your whole life, and just I felt condescended to, which was very demoralizing. But I didn't want to give up, so I reached out to another bank and a small loan company as well. All these things, and long story short, when I reached out to Royal Bank of Canada, a great bank by the way, they got a beautiful blue and gold logo. Highly recommend Royal Bank of Canada. When I reached out to the Royal Bank of Canada, they took me serious. And I got lucky because they had a guy in the local area that services multiple branches, but he specifically services accounts for businesses that they anticipate are going to be really big companies, like either fast growing or very profitable or whatnot. And I got a meeting with him, and it turns out, of all things, he's a huge TCG player. Yeah, he loves card games. Mm-hmm. So once I explained him and I showed him the numbers, and he read the numbers, and he understood that it was actually feasible, and I had sources to back it all up, and I explained how much it would cost to print cards and how much it would cost to ship them and sell them and all that. I had all my info done. I did weeks of work and research and preparation, and he read it all, and he's like, this actually makes a lot of sense, and the good news for you is I love games like this. So he's like, I'm interested in being involved personally in it. So long story short, he got permission from his manager at Royal Bank to take us on personally under his umbrella of accounts, even though we were a startup, which was amazing because when you have somebody like that personally arguing for you at the bank and being your advocate and saying to the main office, listen, I know what I'm talking about and these guys know what they're talking about. We got the financing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. This guy loves those kind of games. He read the numbers. He knew that I knew what I was talking about because he knows the industry and he could read the numbers. And yeah, Royal Bank of Canada came through like rock stars for us, gave us all the financing that we needed to go out and do our part of trying to make an offer on the game. Now, to be honest with you, there's a 3-person team.
That's right, of course.
Yeah. There's myself, my spouse, Janice. So that was the financing for our portion of it, was going through Royal Bank. And then we have a third partner, Jeffrey Pacito, who's the chief design officer for Edge of Exile, because he's an artist. He's a successful independent game maker. He's made solo venture games, which
we'll talk about soon, yeah.
And we'll talk about that later today. Solo venture. So
that's not really...
Spoiler for
We'll
later.
Get to that.
Yeah. So Jeff has been very great, and he has some experience as an independent game maker himself, and he's an artist himself, and all these great things. So between having him, who already had his financing taken care of, and us doing the Royal Bank thing, it all came together, and then we were in a position to at least make an offer once we knew that we had all our lowercase j's dotted.
Right.
So it was great, and we made an offer, and it got accepted. There's a lot of back and forth and negotiation. It's never like a quick, hey, would you like to sell me your whole company? It's not that easy.
Right, there's all kinds of ifs, ands, and buts.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk to be had.
Yep.
But when I went to the creator of the game, Sid, to talk to him about buying it and trying to save the game by buying the IP, Sid was open to the discussion because he knows me personally, and he knows that ethically and business-wise, he knows how I work, and we have a mutual respect for each other. And he knows Jeff because Jeff is a very passionate Genesis player. Jeff has been doing fan art and actually did some official promo art for Genesis in the past.
Yeah, for sure.
Jeff is, there's some stuff that Jeff's done right there. So Jeff is very well known in the community. And in certain areas geographically, it's very well known. But of course, up here in Midland, we're a little disconnected from the rest of the Genesis community because a lot of the stores in Ontario are below Toronto, whereas we're above Toronto.
Right, that's right.
But people had traveled up here to play in tournaments here before.
Absolutely.
Genesis, so a lot of people knew me, and Sid knew me very well, and Sid knew Jeff very well. And I think the perfect combination was we had the work background with me owning a small business in the gaming industry, and then Jeff doing some game design in the gaming industry, and then we had the financing approved, and we had a business plan that I like. Here's what we anticipate doing, and here we can prove that we can make it a success. And I think all those things combined was just the right recipe to convince Sid to be like, yeah, you guys can do it. Because it's not just that you had to convince him to sell. Because he takes such pride in the creation he made of Genesis, you had to convince him that you could be successful too. That's the thing. He didn't want to just sell it to anybody and then see it go down in flames. Because
right. Well, he's a great game designer. That's really You look at the mechanics of this game, and there's clearly something strong behind it.
Yeah.
Right. So when you spend so much time and work and effort to do it, you don't want it just to go to whoever.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know how much you can speak to this, but you weren't the only interested party, I imagine.
No, to my knowledge, we were like third, fourth, fifth down the line to put a proposal forward.
Right.
The thing that happened was in the first few weeks after, there was a lot of people trying to reach out to him right away, from what I gather, from what I've been told by him and whatnot. But to my knowledge, none of them had put in the time and effort to have a really feasible plan.
Right.
So, like, some of them maybe got turned down because it wasn't well thought out. He told me he had calls from random people he had never heard of before. He had people actually look him up and call him on the phone and be like, hey, I hear that this game you made is going out of business. Would you mind just, like, giving me the IP so that I can try and save it? And if it's someone who you've never heard of before, you don't know anything about them, the last thing you're going to do is give away your creation that you spent years and years developing.
You don't want to give away the 11 herbs and spices.
Yeah, like, why would you to someone you don't even know? Right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that going on. There were some people who were involved in the community. There were some former employees that tried to buy it as well. All sorts of things. But for whatever reason, none of them worked out. And like I say, I think it was just the fact that we had the right experience, we had the financing that we could prove. And I think the big thing that really did it for us was the fact that I had taken those 3 weeks to do a business plan.
That makes a big
where
difference.
I really, I showed, I have the money now, and here's what I'm going to use it for the next 2 years. And even if we didn't make a cent for 2 years, we could still be going because this is how it works.
So what is the span of time between finding out Haunted Castle is no more and you signing on the dotted line? What is the time frame we're looking at?
Well, we found out that they were going to be going out of business on April 3rd or 4th, when everybody else did. Like I say, I took about 3 weeks just without even reaching out to anybody, other than I called Sid once or twice to be like, I did ask Sid privately, I'm like, if you're going to sell to anybody, please let me know before you decide, because I'd like to make a bid or whatever. So I let him know I was working on something, just because
keeping him abreast.
Right, that like I'm working on something. But then I didn't give anything to him for 3 to 4 weeks. And there were other bids, including, not bids, I guess, but other groups trying to save it, including one that Jeff himself was involved in, our other partner. And Jeff had asked me to get involved in that one. And I told him right away, I don't really want to get involved in a big group, because there was a group of 9 or 10 people, right? I'm like, I don't want to be one out of 9 or 10 people, because I worry. And I told Jeff this privately off the record at the time. I said, my concern is if there's 9 or 10 people all putting in money to buy a business, how are you going to decide who runs the company? Is it the guy who puts in the most money? Because I'm not rich. And like at that point, I hadn't gotten approval from a bank for financing, right? So my concern was, what if I put in 10 grand, 8 other people put in 10 grand, and one guy puts in 30, but he's an idiot? Does that guy who puts in 30 grand become the CEO and he makes all the decisions because he put in the most money? Like, the thing is, money...
Who ever heard of a rich doofus?
I don't know anybody like that.
So that was I thought it was a really legitimate question I asked at the time.
Yeah,
how are you going to decide who's going to run it? Because I didn't mind being a small making business decisions. Because owning a game store is not the same thing, but I'm in the gaming industry, a lot of insight into what works and what doesn't work in games. We haven't even mentioned the fact I was also a certified Magic judge for 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had worked at a very high level in a very, very complicated game, officiating it at a professional level. So I had experience with that. And with all those skills put together, I really felt like I had a lot to contribute for a leadership position. But again, not everybody knows me in the broader Genesis community, because we're isolated up here in Midland. There's not a lot of stores in our area that was carrying it. And it was a good 2-hour drive for people to come up from the Toronto area, or more than that, from beyond Toronto to come play, right? So with not everybody in the other groups knowing who I am, or knowing me personally, I was worried that I would be just one minority, like small piece of the puzzle that probably wouldn't get
Right.
to contribute. So that was why I didn't want to get involved in that. And then after the 3 or 4 weeks, when I finally was ready to get my financing approved from the banks and that, and I was literally booking appointments to go talk to banks, I reached out to Jeff and I was like, hey, I just want to know, like, how's your guys' bid going? Because I'm trying to figure out if I want to compete with somebody or if somebody else already has a done deal.
If they've got it on a lock, then
then why bother?
Right.
Yep.
And he's like, actually, it looks like it's dead. Not enough people were serious about it, or whatever the reasons were. And I don't want to put words in his mouth, but there were some reasons for everybody that why it didn't work out. So I'm like, oh well, if it's done, and if it's really done, I have something I want to talk to you about, but it would have to be confidential because I've been working hard on this. He's like, yeah, no, I don't have anything going on. So I explained him what our bid was that Janice and I were going to put in. And I said to Jeff, I'm like, you're actually the only guy I know who I'd want to go in as a partner with on this because I know you love the game as much as I do. I know you've been involved in the community. You're an artist. Obviously, I'm thinking with a game company, I'm probably going to need somebody who knows a lot about art. You know, and I know that you know Sid really well. I know Sid really well. Maybe we can come together and try and put in a bid, and maybe he'll consider it. And he was like, Jeff was very excited about that because he believed in me, which I was very flattered by, you know.
Yeah.
And we put in the bid, and then Sid was receptive to it, and then we had to do all these talks back and forth and negotiate. But eventually we got there. So again, like the timeline was, it got announced 3-4 weeks later. I'm talking to the banks. About 2 weeks after that, I've got Jeff involved as well. So 5 weeks later total, I get approval from the bank. And then we start negotiating with Sid and making it really happen. And then by the time it was all signed, that took a long time. It took, after we had a basic working agreement, that in principle we were going to purchase the IP, the rights to make the game.
So you weren't buying Haunted Castle Gaming.
No, that's
exactly. You were buying the product that the
Yeah.
rights to make the product, not the company itself.
Yeah, that's the thing was, and I would never talk about what their financial situation was, but Haunted Castle Gaming had a lot of debt that we didn't want anything to do with because it wasn't our circus, it wasn't our monkeys. We're not getting involved with that.
Absolutely.
But we're like, if you're going out of business anyway, we'd like to buy the rights to make the game moving forward, and we'll give you X amount of money for that. And then after the negotiating back and forth, we came to an agreement, and that's what we did. Is we bought the rights to make the game, plus the rights to use all the existing imagery and everything in the history of it, right? So we bought the rights to all that.
Right.
That's why, like, technically, if we wanted to, we could reprint cards from any older set because that was part of the deal. Was we owned the iconography, we owned the logos, we owned the trademarks, we owned all that stuff. So we bought all that. Basically, everything you need to be able to legally make the game, we bought that. But the company itself continued to exist on its own, the Haunted Castle Gaming.
Right.
And it's,
So you didn't buy KFC, you bought the recipe for the chicken.
Yeah, and the rights to tell people we sell KFC chicken.
That's your
Right.
second KFC reference tonight. I'm starting to notice.
Yeah, you did say 11 herbs and spices earlier.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. I guess
I guess
I got the kernel on the brain. How did you feel when it was all said and done and you signed on the dotted line and now you own Genesis? I don't want to put words in your mouth either, but I've heard you say many times it is your favorite game.
It is my favorite game.
So
It's
now you own your favorite game.
Yeah.
That's got to be a weird sensation.
Yeah. Funny thing. When I was 19 years old and I got a high-paying factory job, I went out and I bought a used car, sports car, but it was my favorite sports car in the world. So I love Dodge Stealth because I used to be in an old TV show called Kung Fu: The Legend Continues.
Oh yeah.
And I bought a Dodge Stealth. And so when I'm 19 and fresh out of high school, I'm driving around in my favorite sports car in the world, and every day was surreal when I'd look out in the driveway and I'm like, there's my favorite car in the world. And I'm going to go get in that now. And I'm going to drive that around town, and people would be like, hey, nice car, and all that. And it was surreal, and it was very weird. And the whole 3.5-4 years that I drove that car, it was surreal every day. And then the novelty never wore off, right? And that's the only thing in my life so far that happened that could compare to this, because there were a couple big milestone days. One day was when we went down to a storage unit to pick up some existing product and things like that, things necessary for manufacturing. And we're driving home in a big U-Haul truck. And Janice is driving on the way home, and I'm in this passenger side. I'm like, you know that there's a bunch of Genesis in this truck? She's like, and she looks scared. She's like, I know. And I'm like, you know, it's ours now. She's like, I know, right? And it was like this surreal moment of disbelief. And then the day that we signed the papers to give to the lawyers to make it official, that was surreal. And I think the next day it was signed by Sid on the other end, and we got the email back saying it's done. That was surreal. So there's been like 4 or 5 milestone days where things happened that We're like, okay, it's going to get to this point. It's going to fall apart. This is where the other shoe's going to fall. And like, we're going to find out something shocking we didn't know. Or he'll change his mind. Or whatever the case may be, right? There were 4 or 5 milestones that happened. One after another, where every time we thought, this is the day it's going to fall apart. And then that night we'd be going to bed and whatever it was actually happened. And we're like, it didn't fall apart yet. Like, so when it finally was all signed, the lawyers had signed it on both ends. And we got the email saying, congratulations, it's official, you own it. I mean, like, I get giddy thinking about it now. Like, I still can't believe that it happened.
And there are still plenty of milestones to come.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we haven't even done our first release yet.
From first release, so from opening your first pack to...
Yeah.
So everything's said and done. Everybody signed on different dotted lines.
Yeah.
I suppose you celebrate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Then you celebrate, you go to bed, and you wake up in the morning now.
And we looked at each other like, did that really just happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess my question is, then now what? So now you own the thing.
Yeah.
So now what do you do?
Well, the first thing after we have made it official and we knew that it was ours, like legitimately ours, and we could start actually working on it. First thing we did is we reached out to most of the people that worked on the old company, the ones who had expressed interest privately or whatnot. We reached out to them. And we made some offers to get some people to come work for us. And we got a couple great talents.
Yeah.
JC and Will are phenomenal people.
Absolutely.
And we got them both on board to keep working on the game, which was a huge get for us. That was great because they have years of experience and knowledge. Jeff used his connections to get in touch with some of the people who had helped design the rule books and all the subtleties and who had helped design the judge program for the old company. And we got a couple of them involved. So we actually have a rules development team and we have a game development team working simultaneously. Because even with Magic, when a new set comes out, there's usually some slight rule tweaks to accommodate new game mechanics that come into play. So we're like making sure that we have all our things crossed and planned out right so that the cards actually technically function right and it's explained in the rules right. So we have a team doing that. Then we had our dev team start working on the set after Invasion. Because as most people know, when we bought the company, they were about to go to print with the set Invasion. It was almost completely done. They just had to pay off the last 15 or 20% of fees to the artists, and then they could theoretically go to the printers and get it printed. So we paid off we could use the art, so they all got paid in full. And then we didn't want to just release the cards the way they had always looked because we had thought that there was some room for improvement. Which anybody who's watched our Monday night streams over on the Genesis Battle channel,
which you should do if you're not.
Yeah.
On YouTube for Genesis Battle Champions, every Monday night we do live streams, and we redesigned the cards because we want to make them more legible, easier to understand. We wanted to get rid of some unnecessary things on the cards so you could see more of the artwork, make them prettier, make them more vibrant. We wanted to redesign the card backs because the old card backs actually had a Haunted Castle Gaming logo, and obviously with us being a different company, we're not going to put the old company's logo on the backs of our cards.
Right, and you had to hire, I'm sure, a very talented graphic designer to make new card backs, but you ended up with Joe.
I was waiting to see which one of us was going to make the pun. Thank you for saving me being.
If you haven't seen the bags, they kind of look like these jerseys.
That's right. Yeah, this is basically.
Yeah, like wait.
Yeah, the guy who designed it didn't want to get a jersey.
Apparently.
The cobbler's kid has no shoes.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, you know what they say, like in terms of changing the cards, like. You know, there's that saying on 30 Rock, sometimes you have to change something that's perfectly good just to make it your own, in a way. Like, and they meant it as a joke, but I think it's true. Like, you want to put your...
stamp, signature.
Yeah, you want to express yourself.
Well, if I can be honest for a second, I don't know if we would have changed the card backs if they didn't have the Haunted Castle Gaming logo on them. I don't know for sure if we would have.
Well, I know
because there's also something to be said for paying tribute to what came before you and for the stability of like what people are used to. And generally speaking, a lot of people are resistant to change. So I don't know for sure. It would have been a really close coin flip as to whether or not we would have decided to change it. But since we had to anyways, because even if you just took the logo off but kept the same back, it still would be technically different.
Yes.
You wouldn't be able to play without sleeves because you would know what some cards are and some aren't. So no matter what, it had to get changed at least a little bit. So since we had to do it anyways, and we knew we had to change it, we're like, well, let's do something that we believe in. And so I had a long talk with Jeff and Janice. The three of us, we talked about it a lot. And we all agreed that one of the things we don't like about the trading card industry is that a lot of games fall into the trap of doing things very dark with blacks and browns and reds and whatnot. And sometimes it can be a little gloomy. I get that a lot of things look really cool when they're blacks, silvers, and reds and browns. But we were like, there's not really a lot of card art out there on backs that are bright and vibrant and like cheery or get your eye to focus on them. So we wanted like color and we wanted to be vibrant. So we came to Joe with some suggestions and impressions on what we were looking for.
Yeah, for those watching, maybe you don't know, Joe is professionally a graphic designer and has been for a number of years, and is a teacher of graphic design and has some pretty legit credentials.
Yeah.
So this isn't just like reaching out to your nephew that kind of has Photoshop. It's like he's a legit guy, and I think that, if I may say so, the backs are terrific.
Yeah.
Like
I really love where they ended.
When I saw like some iterations as you were sort of I have a bit of, I'm not really involved in Edge of Exile or anything, but
I've been behind the scenes the whole time.
But I've been beside you guys the whole time, and I kind of get to see what's going on, and to see the progression that you came up with and then what you finally ended up with, I think is really like, and if you Google like TCG card backs on Google image search and you see like all of them, they all kind of look similar.
That was what I was.
And this one totally stands out, and
the feedback has been great.
And if I could just take us on a side journey for a second
of course.
On this topic. It's funny because the thought process for me that went into what I requested for the card back design was similar to the thought process of what I thought when I was deciding what the color scheme would be for our local game store. Because even for the people watching behind you right now, they're going to see a bright pink on the wall. Other walls in the store are very bright green. We wanted bright, welcoming colors that everybody sees and they feel comfortable and they feel inclusive. And some of that psychologically was what went into the request that we gave for Joe. We wanted bright colors. We wanted to feel welcoming, not intimidating. So it's neat because that's been the thought process for everything that we've tried to do professionally. We want it to be welcoming, inviting, and people to be interested in it. And I think that the card back does that. So
yeah. We see John here says new templates and new symbols on the cards. Maybe talk about that a little bit. Why would you? What went into the thought of changing some of those things?
Well, I mentioned a little bit of that in so much as we wanted to get more of the art visually visible on the cards, because the old card design had a whole side covered with symbols that sometimes weren't even being used. So we wanted to free that up so people could see more of the artwork done by the artists.
I think the art is an underrated aspect of the cards. Like, as much as people love it, I think like some people really love it.
Well, and especially the new set.
Exactly.
There was a big jump with the last set, which was Origins. It was a huge jump. And then there's another probably equivalent jump coming up with Invasion that the art is like really stunning now. And I'm so impressed because I've seen these cards since back in alpha and beta, so I know how far they've came, right? And in just a short 6 years to go from that to where it is now, like it's impressive, right? And it gets me excited for what art's going to look like in another couple of years for the game. I think if things keep going well, in a few more years, the art will be able to rival the big name games. At this point, we're really making great progress.
John points out that it's not the first game to go through a card back change, which is true.
Big shout out to Damien. Welcome to the chat, Damien.
Hey Damien, what's happening? Welcome. Sorry you didn't get the notification in time, but we're glad you joined us.
You can go back and watch the beginning later. It's all good.
And I'm sure
you will.
I gotta say, a pet peeve of mine in TCGs is the card back for Magic the Gathering. Which is
outdated now.
It's so ugly, and they can't change it. So if you have the opportunity to change it, which you did, with the logo and everything,
it's kind of mandatory.
Let's change it. Like the whole, might as well change the whole thing. I say let's. I didn't do anything, but change it.
That was the thought.
No, totally. But you might as well change it outright and make. Is it weird for you like? If you're a fan of a game, like say you're a fan of Magic, and you,
which I am,
but you are,
Yeah.
But like say one is a fan of Magic, and I'm sure every Magic player thinks, man, if I could change this or that, I would love to do that. But now you're in a situation with Genesis where you love the game. I'm sure before all this went down that you probably thought, oh, it'd be cool if this was different or whatever. Now, though, it gets easy if you're like a fan in your TCG and you're like, you know what I think they should do?
Yeah, all of a sudden, all those things you said in the past in private conversations come back to haunt you because you're like, oh crap. I've talked a lot over the last few years about what I would do.
I talked about a lot of smack,
right?
and now I'm the
now I got to actually do it.
Yeah, exactly. And how many? How does that feel when you're just, because then you're like, are you cautious? Like, oh, I want to make all these changes. Oh, maybe I shouldn't. Like, maybe I shouldn't mess with it. Or do you just want to, like, you know?
Cautious is a good word, but it's not quite the right word because it's more like I have a lot of respect for the responsibility I've been given. So cautiousness, I think, might suggest that I'm maybe a little timid, which I'm not. I'm very willing to make changes if I firmly believe, and if my two partners firmly believe it's the right decision. And that's one of the great things about our company's structure, is with Janice, Jeff, and myself, there's 3 people that have to sign off on everything. So one person can't run the whole show and steamroll everything. There's always 2 people that have a veto power to put back a bad idea. And I can say happily that all 3 of us, Jeff, Janice, and myself, happily, all 3 of us have had ideas rejected by the other 2. In fact, just this week I had an idea on something for an unannounced project we haven't revealed yet. I had an idea shot down by the other 2. And I'm actually glad that it works that way, because I think that's one of the things that may have led to some of the struggling for the previous company, is if one person has all the power and 100% control over what gets pushed forward, sometimes you have blinders on and you just get obsessed on an idea you have.
Right.
And if you're 100% convinced you know best and everybody else is telling you you're wrong, if you have that power, you can push it through.
And then sometimes you change the company's name to X.
Yeah,
right? Like
that may or may not be a good example.
Sorry, I use that as
about.
an anonymous term, not a
Right.
particular company
We're not
that
citing anything specific.
that has a cuckoo banana CEO that just does whatever he wants.
Why did our Steam just get ended here?
Oh, that's so
Our
weird.
account got deleted. Weird.
Oh God, what happened?
Yeah.
What did I become?
But like that's an example of somebody who does not get told no and has terrible ideas. So it's good to have those checks and balances, I guess, is what you're saying.
Well, and what I'm saying specifically is I'm really happy to have those checks and balances.
Right.
Because I'm as fallible as anybody else. And sometimes I might be convinced that my idea is the best idea. But if I believe in Janice and I believe in Jeff, and I legitimately mean that when I say that, and if both of them are telling me this isn't the way to go, I'm happy to listen to them. And I believe that more often than not, that system will work out for the best. There might be a very rare exception where maybe I did have an idea that would have worked out great, and maybe we'll never know. But I think more often than not, those checks and balances will help guide us on the right path. And I'd rather be on a solid, steady pace of improvement than taking reckless chances. So I really love our company structure, and I love the people that I get to work with at the executive level, and I love the people that I work with on the design team level, because both JC and Will are just really great people, great human beings, and brilliant minds for what they bring to the game. I'm so thrilled to have both of them on the team. And I don't personally know the 2 people that are involved in the judge rulings team. Like I know them online because we chat on Discord a lot, Shahan and Jan. But I don't know the person, but Jeff does, and he says great things about them too. So I'm thrilled about the whole Edge of Exile structure right now. We have a great team.
Well, judging is easy. You just yell, Aaron!
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
But those people right now, as opposed to judging, they're actually tweaking some of the rules to make sure that new cards coming out are going to work properly.
Oh, wonderful.
And we're actually getting... see, I almost said something I shouldn't say.
What's the safe word?
Cinnamon.
No, I'll say a little bit about it. There's going to be 1 or 2 slight changes, either in time for Invasion or the set after, about a couple existing game mechanics that I think when we make these slight tweaks, it's going to make the game even more fun, and it's going to open more gameplay options.
Oh, that's excellent.
So,
well, you've shown some spoilers so far, one of them even on our channel.
Yes, thank you again for that.
We thank you for that. But even on your own
Damien's a judge.
stream.
Hey, Damien.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Damien. Yeah, like we've seen, especially all the break cards that you showed a few weeks back, I think are going to make the game so much more fun.
I'll tell you this real quick. If you like that cycle of 5 break cards, you are going to love the 2 or 3 cycles of 5 cards each going into the set after Metamorphosis. There's going to be a couple cycles in there, and you are going to love them. I am jacked, like extremely jacked for what's going to come in Metamorphosis, which will probably, if we hit our deadlines, release in late March, mid-April, somewhere around there.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, that's the hope. If everything goes on schedule, that's when it should release. So that'll be the quickest turnaround ever, because we're trying to get sets out 6 months apart, whereas the old company could only do one set a year.
Right.
So I think like when you factor in that there's double the cards coming out every year, and I'm so excited for Metamorphosis. I'm giddy thinking about it. It's going to be a year from now. We are going to be so happy as Genesis players, all of us. I promise you, because like there's going to be so many great cards and so many new mechanics and just so much awesome stuff going on that a year from today, Genesis fans are going to be at their happiest. I have no doubt about it.
Oh, that's exciting. Can you tell us much about the Invasion release that's upcoming? I know you probably don't have a firm date, but is there anything you can tell us?
Well, I can tell you that we are literally in the final spell checking proof edits, and I don't know if it's going to be Tuesday or Wednesday, but one of those days I think we're going to actually submit it to the printers.
Oh,
and
wow.
it'll be locked in, like hard locked.
And so at that point, will you know it's releasing on such and such a date?
So the way I think it's going to work, because this is our first time submitting it to the printers, I think what will happen is when we submit it to the printers, they're going to tell us where on their list of upcoming projects it's going to get printed, and I think they'll be able to tell us when they're going to be ready to ship it out. Once we have that info, which they should be able to tell us either right away or a day or two later, we should be able to calculate when the official exact release date is. So I don't know if it'll be next week.
Then you can get your pre-releases in, folks.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Is we need to know the official exact date for release so that I can reach out to all the wholesale distributors in the States and Europe. We already, by default, we gained the biggest wholesaler in Canada because they had already dealt with the old company, and I, as a local game store owner, buy from them every week.
Right.
So they were like, yeah, sure, we'll carry your product, right? We didn't have to do any work, which was crazy good for us. But to get all the other distributors, I need to have that information. When's it going to release? When can you start taking pre-orders and that? And I'm hoping... I don't know for sure when the printer will be able to give us an exact date, but I think it's sometime in the next 2 weeks we'll get that info. At that point, I can go to all these wholesalers in Europe and across the States and be like, here's when the product's coming out. Would you like to list it for us and sell it to your stores for us?
Right.
And I'm pretty optimistic that we'll get into some really big distribution channels just based on the success that the old company had. They were really, really on the cusp of greatness when everything kind of shut down on them. So,
well, I know you can't give us a firm date, but should I look into getting a booster box size stocking for Christmas this year?
Oh, I'm pretty confident. I think everybody on the team would tell you we're pretty confident that it'll be coming out in November. So you should be able to get a booster size stocking for Christmas.
Good.
Yeah, that's the hope. And I think we've done it quick enough that we'll be able to get a November release date.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. That's...
Technically that is subject to change, but I'm very confident when I say that.
Sure. Nothing's firm.
Don't hate me if something out of my control happens.
You never know, but
I'm pretty confident.
That's good news. John's marking his calendar.
Yeah.
He says the safe word should have been ice cream. But I don't want the safe word to be something he's going to say all the time.
Do you blame me?
Oh, I guess you have cinnamon sugar donuts.
Yeah.
So.
I'm a kid in a candy store, literally.
Yeah.
I'm living my best life.
Oh, that's great. Well, this is terrific. I just want to ask you one more thing, and then we're going to maybe open some packs?
Yeah, let's open a few packs.
Yeah, but the thing I want to ask you about is, I want to merge the beginning of this and the ending of this.
Okay.
As an LGS owner,
yes,
and now a game owner.
Yeah, which is a very interesting pair of paths.
Yeah, I think you have a unique perspective amongst LGS owners and game owners.
Yeah.
What things have you learned from both of those roles that you're incorporating into your approach to all this?
Well, I did touch on that a little bit in one of our previous Monday night live streams where I mentioned that I feel like the fact that I'm a local game store owner and I've had to deal with all the challenges of knowing what it's like when there's product shortages or when certain companies release too many products and there's product fatigue, or games randomly jacking up the prices over and over and over again. I know those struggles because as a local game store owner, I know how much it sucks sometimes when you're trying to carry a product everybody wants, but they're making so many products you can't keep up, and they're spoiling and doing spoiler videos and hyping a set during the pre-release for the previous set. Like, we can't even get through pre-release of this set, and you're already talking about the next set. And
let people be excited about this one first.
Right? Yeah. So I know all those troubles and tribulations that we've been through as a local game store, and I'm very passionate about a couple things. One thing I'm very passionate about is I'm very passionate about the fact that I want Genesis to be a profitable game for the local game stores. I care deeply about that. Because I know from first-hand experience, it doesn't matter how many booster boxes of a major game, the biggest game out there. It doesn't matter how many boxes of that game I sell. If I'm only making $10 a box and I'm paying $7 shipping to get it to my store, I don't care if I sold 30 boxes. Because if I can't buy a large pizza with the profit I made off of it, who cares?
Right.
Especially when I'm trying to not only pay my salary, but pay my staff's salary.
Right.
And there's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of that where the effort that it takes to carry booster boxes of major games sometimes doesn't feel worth it because you're not making enough profit to like support your family or to support your staff. So that's one of the things I really care about a lot is I want to make sure that local game store owners and their staff can afford to live. I care about that. I want Genesis to be a successful game that the players are going to love playing and that the stores are going to love selling. And I think, and I don't want to throw stones at anyone, and I won't throw stones at anyone, but I will say that it feels to me sometimes as a local game store owner that other companies forgot about part of that equation.
Right.
Sometimes it's felt like they don't care if I survive, they just care that they get their cut and good luck. Right?
They just sell it to Amazon or something, and
things like that are a real insult, in my opinion.
I feel like if I may editorialize for a sec,
Please,
it's
you
a
can
real
speak more freely than I can.
It's a real false economy, right? Because they think, oh well, if we sell it to all these online retailers, that we'll make this money. But I don't think they're keeping in mind that it's the LGS who create the grassroots demand for the product in the first place. Because you could buy your big name cards on Amazon, let's say, for example.
Yeah.
But
which has been known to happen.
But who are you going to play with?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the only reason I know about Genesis is because of my LGS.
Right.
And I'm sure that's the case for the majority of players, I could probably say.
Yeah. Not every game has a 30-year-old cartoon to advertise, right? So you need an LGS to teach people about other games that they would enjoy. It's supposed to be fun.
Well, let me ask you a question, Brian. In all honesty, if 5 years from now, 95% of local game stores were out of business because they couldn't make a profit and live anymore, how long do you think games like Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Genesis would last if 95% of stores didn't exist and you could only buy cards off of places like Amazon with nowhere to actually physically play?
Right. You can play at home with your friends, but if your friends have never heard of the game or provided, for instance, Genesis, not just since you've had it, but ever since it started that I've known, you can get some free cards to start you off, learn how to play, see if you like it. I don't see a lot of other games doing that anymore. Yeah. And you can only do that at an LGS. LGSs are, if you love games, you gotta, even if you don't go to them, you gotta at least support them morally, because otherwise it's, you're not gonna get any more Major League Baseball players if you destroy every playground.
Yeah.
Because the local playground isn't making money. Well, where are your Major League players going to come from? And
you said about how you can still play at home with your friends. But
yeah.
What sounds better to you? Talking 2 or 3 of your friends into coming over every now and then to play the game. You play the same people every week. Or going to a local game store where there's on average 10 or 12 people that you only know from that game store, but they all love the game.
And sometimes you win prizes.
Right?
You can take it to a different level. You can have it on whatever level you want, but...
But let's be honest, you and I both love playing Genesis.
Yeah.
And we don't live that far from each other. We've known each other for our whole lives. How many times have you and I gotten together to play it?
A few. But we usually play here.
Right.
Yeah.
I usually play my own daughter
here.
Yeah. My daughter and I play Genesis, and we rarely play at home. We live together, but we come here to play because it's more fun for us.
Yeah.
And there's ice cream, and there's nachos, and there's whatever, all those things.
Don't say cinnamon. That's the safe word.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. Moving forward, though, shall we open some cards?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
So what do we have here, Joe?
I brought 3 packs today from my personal collection.
Ooh.
And so we've got
These are all Genesis cards.
a blur. There we go. We've got Rays. Just 1 pack of Rays, 1 pack of Beta,
Beta. Ooh,
and
spicy.
1 pack of Welcome to Jalara.
J1, if you're nasty. So I figure we each open one.
Yeah, and
then we can
talk about what we
see
pull.
what we got.
Yeah, sure.
How's that sound?
You are the guest. I'll let you pick whatever.
Oh, no, I'm the guest and the host.
Well,
Well, my store. So
you
I'll
pick.
Do you want to
let's
rant?
let Brian pick first. 'cause
Sure.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll close my eyes.
Brian's my
You
favorite.
split them up,
Okay.
or shake them up, and I'll grab one at random.
Joe didn't hear me say that.
Not that one.
So what do I got? J1.
Okay.
All right.
Left or right?
I'm left-handed, so I'll take left.
There you go.
What do you got?
I got the raise.
Hey, okay.
And so I get
All
some
right.
Beta.
All right.
So,
Why
Brian.
don't we go newest to oldest? Raise would be newest.
yeah.
Okay.
Jalara, and then we save the beta for last.
Sure.
Right?
Good idea.
Take a trip back in time with this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't have a chance to set up a pull camera,
Yeah.
so you'll just have to kind of show your camera.
For sure.
What do we got?
John says, I can go on the record as saying it brings a tear to my eye. I think he was talking about some of the stuff earlier. I love using pizza in the example, Pizzanomics. And he feels like some shots may have been taken at Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh!
Who might have done that?
I don't know. Okay.
I'm just moving the rares to the back so that.
Oh, okay. Well, here, let's use your camera here.
Yeah. Shut up however you want.
Here,
Here.
I'll just move it by hand here, and you can.
All right, so I would want it facing this way. Is that correct?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Are we good?
yeah, you're good.
Yep.
I'll hold it in the right
All
spot.
So we're starting off with a common, Kodama. Then we've got an Inferno Lashback. Tornado Winds, which is a very cool card. I like it.
That's a good one.
Baihu.
By whom?
By whom, I wonder. Then I believe that's Perry, is it not? Perry.
Oh, nice.
Secret. It's interesting too because as we go back to the older ones, you're gonna notice a difference in the art,
That's
especially by the
true.
time you get back to beta. So this is gonna be a fun little journey through time right now. Then we've got Float because we all float down here. Little it reference for you. Fire Fiend. I always liked the art on this one. I thought this was really
Yeah,
cool.
he's a cool guy.
The Shadow Master. Arcane Shield. Makara. With the water back in. I like cards that do branding. This one gives water brand, so the future cards are weak to water damage. I like
Yeah.
that. I thought that was a good mechanic. Instill Vigor. Very cool. I'm digging that. Blood Centipede. Now we're coming on to the first rare, and it's actually says
Oh.
it's an epic rare. Look at that. Lightless Tibicina. You can't see me. My time is now. John Cena. Do, 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 do. The Lightless Tibicina. I love that card. That is actually a really powerful card, too. That card is stupidly good. It's got attack resistance. It absorbs the first damage
Right.
from every attack. That is bonkers how tough that card is.
What's the chi on that?
The chi on that card is a full-on 8. That is
Yeah,
the
not
top of the
surprising.
power
Yep.
scale.
Not surprising.
And for good reason. That card deserves to be an 8. It is so powerful. And then we've got a rare here with Divine Renewal to finish off the pack. Well,
All right.
guys, I think your work might be cut out for you. I think that that was a very powerful pack to begin with.
All right.
So-
Well, I'll
Want me to take the camera?
I could do it like this. Maybe?
Sure, that works.
If it in front
Can
of
you?
Jason, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can take it. Why don't you take it?
Sure, let's.
And I'll open up here. All right, I'm opening up.
Let's see.
This is
where we're at.
welcome to the Jalera.
The first one.
First one.
Jalara.
Okay, you're on there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we got a sandstorm. You know what it is? You know what I got to do?
I know what you got to do.
That's a good song. Volcanic
I'm gonna try to get rid of this,
eruption. It's also a
glare here.
rare.
Hey,
Here,
Jeff Casito.
there we go, yeah.
Hey,
Jeff.
there he is,
Jeffrey.
Mr.
Woo.
Jeff. We were talking about you. Only good things.
Only
though.
good things.
So sandstorm and volcanic eruption are rare. We get another rare, Anger of the Phoenix. Another rare.
Is this one of those demigod packs that I?
Yeah, Guardian of Balance. Another rare, Primordial Force. What's happening here? Malefic Shakti. Another rare. These are almost all rare, except for a couple commons at the end. Weird.
Wow, that's
Cabus. I like the art on this one.
Yep.
Because I thought that was a cool card.
you. You found
Fire
a good
Hill?
pack for this video.
Yeah.
Oh.
Fire Hill. Anja Tiger. Gilded Stag.
I love that artwork.
That's a good one. I like that one.
So hold on there, Brian.
Yeah, here we go.
So
He's
good.
like, "Bruh, let's get,
Yeah, that's
let's
pretty
get
awesome.
busy."
Sorry,
Another fire
How was he
hill.
like?
That sounded a little dirty.
Oh, we got 2 fire hills on this one.
Oh,
Both rare.
Interesting.
We got a full art long. Tattered Remains, uncommon. Oh, well. Reconfigure Reality. And finally, good old Decoy Rabbit. Love it.
amazing.
Love it. All
I'll
right.
give you that. Hide this over here.
Hey, that's my name. So Float originally, John says, Float originally was supposed to protect you from the effects of alterations.
Oh,
Oh. That's interesting.
Yeah. And Jeff says, I'm officially campaigning to change the pronunciation of caboose to caboose. Like a train.
That's funny.
while Jeff is here, should we ask him what he wants us to do about a certain thing that you showed earlier?
I don't know. I feel like we should save that for,
We'll
its own.
Let's do that. It deserves
it
it deserves its own
stream.
episode.
Deserves
All right.
its own
Also,
episode.
I'm the star here. So
I know, right?
Let's just leave Jeff
know what?
out.
You're the
let's-
star. I should probably center you in the frame. There we
Probably
go.
send him in
Yeah.
frame.
Yeah, there we go. Are you?
I'll
Here,
speak
I'll
to my
move.
agent later.
All right, you.
All right.
You're gonna open that beta.
Sure, let's open some
All right,
beta.
we're opening a pack of beta, folks.
Eventually.
There we go.
There he is.
Quality
everything's upside
production,
down.
everybody.
Okay, let's see what we got.
High-tech camera work going on tonight.
That's right. Me went to college.
I'm not going to grab a knife to open this pack because last time we
Please
did
don't
that.
cut yourself. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did
What?
you see that? I was watching the live stream.
He told
did
me
the
after.
video.
I didn't catch it
Yeah,
before.
first pack open, he cut himself. And
Yeah.
was suffering the rest of the stream.
So what do we got here?
All right, let's see if we can. There. We got an Aura Surge.
Now, these are beta, by
These are beta. Rejuvenating Spring. Unhinge. That's maniacal.
Yeah.
Underworld Knowledge. Skeleton King. I love that artwork.
That looks like it should be on a box of Skull Candy headphones.
Yep. Malott. Amazing.
Jeff's like, Joe cut himself opening packs just so he could feel something. That's nice.
Holy Wall. Is a rare.
Marcus just burst through the wall like Kool-Aid Man looking for a holy wall.
Quicksand. Archon of Light.
Oh, yeah.
Angel's Kiss. Concussion Punch. Treacherous Terrain. Torrents. Shoulder Throw. And Guided Arrow.
Nice.
Amazing. Nice pack.
Yeah, not bad.
Very cool.
Great. Well, Jason, this has been a terrific interview.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
glad you were able to join us today. I'm sure.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank
like we are, as you know, we are not a large YouTube channel yet.
Yeah.
But having people support us like you shouted us out on the mainstream, and you
It's
know,
my pleasure.
giving us access to a spoiler there was really nice, and so we really appreciate your support, and we hope the best for Genesis.
Absolutely.
Not only for you, but for us, because we love it.
Yeah. It's my pleasure. It's a pleasure and an honor to be working on this game. I love it, and I take the responsibility very seriously, and I'm so happy with the progress we've made. And I just got to reiterate again that I think everybody who loves the game is going to be really excited with all the things we have in the works, because we are working at a feverish pace to put out some really great stuff. And I've had a look at what's coming down the pipeline, and it's really exciting. I think we're going to have a really fun year coming up ahead.
Amazing.
Great. That sounds like a good place to end right there.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jason, again. Everybody, if you are watching, first of all, thanks for watching. Also, if you haven't subscribed to us, please do.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people will tell you to smash that bell. Usually I don't, because I don't need a million notifications. But in this case, you should hit the bell, because we only broadcast once a week. But sometimes we're going to do some in the middle of the week. And if you want to know when we do it, you'll get a notification if you push the little bell on our channel.
And we've got some
Just so you
shorts
don't
as well.
accidentally miss one, right?
Yeah, you don't want to miss one.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always go and check our older episodes.
Yep, and shorts.
And shorts. We do try to post a bunch of shorts. Also, if there's some, we although we love and focus on Genesis, we do also feature other games as well. So if there's something you want to see, let us know.
Like, I hear good things about MetaZoo.
MetaZoo.
We are gonna
we're going to do some
yeah.
MetaZoo. We're going to hit MetaZoo pretty hard pretty soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, if there's something you want to see, let us know. And in the meantime, you know what? Have a great time, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Jason, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.